This is probably one of the wildest foreclosure stories I've heard in a while, so I'm going to go ahead and share it with you, and hopefully it'll benefit you as a real estate investor here in Southern California. So I was on the phone yesterday with an investor who was out door knocking and came across this 10-unit property. Like, the place he said was a total dump, overgrown weeds, one tenant living in the units, which is actually not bad, and then place was a mess. So he calls me and he says, like, hey, I found this place, the seller's willing to sell, it's going into foreclosure, and he wants to make a deal where he keeps 50% and he wants to JV with a developer in order to build out, because the property was currently 10 units, but it was zoned for 46 units. And so I kept asking questions, and then the real story came out. So the seller owed $1.8 million on that property. And that's a pretty big number because the property, he had purchased it pretty much free and clear. And so I asked him, okay, where did the $1.8 million go if it clearly didn't go to the property because it's in a state of disarray? Ding, 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 said that the seller used the funds to pay off other debt, personal debt. So I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but tell me more about where he is in the process. So this investor says, oh yeah, the guy has already received his notice of default. He's already received his notice of sale. The sale date has already passed, and he somehow figured out how to get it postponed. Which for me is like big red flag. Like, how do you get to a point where you haven't tried to figure this out before the actual foreclosure sale? And then this investor tells me the clincher. He says that he went out and found somebody who would bring in their own funds, would pay the seller a $500,000 advance to take care of the tenant, take care of the property, and do whatever he wanted to do. But the seller would only get maybe a 10%, I think it was 10%, or 30% stake in the deal. So not the 50% that he originally wanted. Do you know this seller who is past his foreclosure sale? Foreclosure is imminent. This seller turned that deal down and basically said, if I don't get a 50% JV, I don't want anything. And in my head, I'm literally like, that seller is crazy. And this investor is like, no, we got to figure out a deal. We got to figure out a deal. Like, we got to figure out how to make it work for the seller, this poor guy, like all this different stuff. And I'm like, no, sweetie, let's reevaluate things. The guy got greedy. He took $1.8 million out of the apartment building, which he did not put into the apartment building in order to bring it to any valuation higher than that. He didn't pay any of the money back and now is facing foreclosure. Someone handed him a life raft and he still ignored it. No, that's no. So this is what I told him to do instead. I said, don't talk to the seller anymore. Get off the phone with me, call back that investor, go to the foreclosure sale and buy it. Because have no doubt, it is going to foreclosure sale. So save this video in case you ever need it. And if you have a real estate question and need answers, hit that link in my bio.